Stop right there. You guys actually take time
We do.
to reflect on what you should be thankful for?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, what a concept.
It's a good one.
What are you thankful for? Drop it in the comments below.
Yeah.
You've got some things going on in that head of yours. I heard some
Big
pebbles
noggin.
rolling around in there. Yeah. So what is it that you and your wife have been talking about? Share.
So my wife and I were talking the other day, we were just really kind of reflecting on some of the things that we're really thankful for.
Stop right there. You guys actually take time
We do.
to reflect on what you should be thankful for?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, what a concept.
It's a good one.
What are you thankful for? Drop it in the comments below.
Yeah. And I think, so we were talking about what we're thankful for. We've just had some really, really cool, we've made some really good friends. And so we were just going through, just all of the changes that we've seen in the past year and a half, which just so happens to align with the beginning of COVID.
Right. Everybody's seen a lot of changes in the last year and a half.
So yeah, everyone has. And what as pessimistic as we can be and as opinionated as I can be about certain aspects, we've really seen a lot of really positive things, kind of come through this period of time, maybe not directly related to COVID and all of the trouble that it's caused. But, in the past year and a half, we have, found a new church that feels like home and like family. We have made friends, a lot of friends at church and outside of church that we just don't want to do life without.
Right.
And I've always been not a loner. I'm an extrovert, but I've always kind of just had friends, and if they acquaintances. Yeah. Maybe even closer acquaintances. But, most people, if they moved, if they up and moved one day, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to see them anymore.
Right.
No big deal.
Okay.
But now we have friends that I'm like, if they up and moved, I would be sad. I'd be devastated. If you up and moved,
so would they.
Yeah. And so we've developed friends. We've gotten some really cool things figured out with our finances. We've been in a job that's super flexible and pays well. Me and Dwayne, we started a coffee thing,
That's right.
and we're having a lot of fun doing the coffee and doing the podcast and videos.
We are on podcast, by the way.
Spotify. Well, and Spotify, Apple Music now.
Oh, is it on Apple Music now?
Yeah, it'll be on pretty much all of
We're nationwide. We're worldwide, international.
Worldwide. That's a Step Brothers reference. You didn't even catch it.
Darn it.
You never seen it.
I've never seen it.
So, and then here very recently, the past month or so, my wife and I have really been focusing on our health, and which has been a good, positive journey.
Yeah.
I mean, just a lot of things. And I told my wife, I said, this is the life I pictured when we got married.
Okay.
We've been married coming up on 8 years.
Yeah.
I said, this is the life I pictured, which is just so interesting to me that it happened, that all of these, a lot of these things, these pieces came together during a time where most people, I think a lot of people are going to look back 10 years from now with a perspective of those were the two worst years.
Right.
And I could probably find enough evidence to say
back that up, right?
I could focus on the things that frustrate me and the things. But when we change our perspective and we say, okay, what things are we thankful for? I think that 10 or 15 years from now or 20 years from now, when my wife and I are reflecting, we're going to be able to say that 2020 and 2021 were two of the most formational years of our lives because we made a lot of really big decisions and took a lot of really good actions that I think are going to lead to a longer, healthier, happier life with better health and better finances.
Yeah.
And we even decided that, we even made the decision we're homeschooling our kids. We're going to really take their education into our hands.
Yeah.
I mean, just a lot of big stuff.
I was saying a few weeks ago, and I've said it a lot before COVID started. I said that there are a lot of people that are in jobs that they shouldn't be in. There are a lot of people who've got these dreams of what they want their life to look like, but they have been kind of they've bound themselves to a specific employer or a specific trade or craft, whatever it is, and chasing after that golden parachute or the pension or whatever. And they're looking at all of the responsibilities, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, man, if only I could have done things differently.
Yeah.
I would have taken that invention and put it out there, which I would talk in a minute about. But they've had thoughts of like, I would like to open my restaurant, or I would like to, start a coffee business, start my own YouTube channel, whatever it is. And that they just have never gotten to it. Yeah. Because life happens. If you're not careful, life will just sneak up on you, and you're going to blink, and you're going to be in your mid-50s. You're going to be a middle-aged man, and looking and seeing, wow, where did all that time go? And so one of what I've said was that with COVID, what's happened is a lot of people's foundation has been shaken. Yeah. And because that foundation has been shaken, things that they thought they could count on, things that I thought I could count on, you recognize you really can't. Yeah. There's no sure thing. For me, the only sure thing is my father. Yeah. My faith is the only thing that is unchanging. Yeah. But other than that, circumstances change and all of this kind of stuff. And so people realize that, everything that I was working for, I was off of work for this much time. And so, and I've seen people, their lives end earlier than they should have. And did they accomplish, when they died, did they have regrets of things that they didn't do that they wished they would have done? And so I think that's the one silver lining out of this, is that people said, you know what, this is the time. Yeah. And so they started that business. They started that hobby. They started a new career. They went back to school. They learned a new something. They dove deeper into their relationships with their loved ones. They got stronger in their relationships and their faith, and those kinds of. So I think having that attitude of gratitude, those are one of those things that I call them like platitudes, because they're so overused. Have an attitude of gratitude. Yeah. But the truth of it isn't voided because it's overused. Yeah. But really having that heart that says, you know what, I am thankful for so many things, and getting a focus on those things that we're grateful for, as opposed to just looking at all of the negatives, all of the things that aren't going right. And I think that's the only way that we can live a life without regrets. Yeah. Yeah. And I look and I say a lot of the things that I have and complained about, or that have frustrated me, are actually the things that led to the things I'm thankful for now. Yeah, exactly. Some of my frustrations led us to make decisions that have now been such positive things. Mm-hmm. And so, I've heard, I don't know who said it, maybe Albert Einstein or something. Someone said, there's nothing is neither good nor bad, but our thinking makes it so. Okay. Right. Which I disagree with on some foundational level, but it's a little deep for me this early in the morning. It is. But what I think that's getting at in my mind at this point is, what Dwayne said, well, COVID shut down my job. So if COVID made you unemployed, well, now you have options, and you get to make that decision to where it's like, man, I'm not going to be in this position ever again. I'm going to take it into my own hands. That's right. And so, you could either look at it as controlling your own destiny. Yeah, you could look at it as being laid off or fired as being this super negative thing, mm-hmm. or you can say, you know what, it's an opportunity to reevaluate. I think reevaluating is one of the most underrated things that we do as humans, and that's, my wife and I are always sitting down saying, okay, what do we need to do in this area? Mm-hmm. And just looking at what we've been doing and say, well, we don't like what that's brought, so let's do something different. And just sitting down, taking time to do that. 20 minutes or 30 minutes of doing that can completely change the trajectory of, where your life is going. That's right. And so I just, I wanted to take just a couple minutes, just talk about how I love it. 2020 and 2021 don't have to be looked at when we look, because I think I think no matter what happened, we're going to start looking at time as before COVID and after COVID. Right. Because it's very different. It really is.
And so if we're going to look at it that way, then I think we have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
How do we look at this period of time in relation to what our lives look like now?
Right.
And I think we can choose to look at it in a positive or a negative way. And the way we choose to look at things really shapes a lot about us.
That's right. I think a lot of people are missing a really golden opportunity right now, because the circles I travel in, I hear people who are really, been out of shape about things, and we can put blame on people and all that kind of stuff, and it's all irrelevant. It's all moot. It's not like we have any control over anything. We said earlier, control is an illusion. It really is. We don't have a lot of control. The only thing that I can control is my response to things. Right. I can't control who does what. Right. I can only control my response. And so there are some people who are just kind of miserable right now and missing this chance to, I consider all of this a do-over for a lot of people. And we should wake up every morning, I think, and evaluate, okay, where are we going today? Do I like the attitude that I'm bringing into this? Is my attitude going to contribute to a good outcome, or is my attitude just going to give me more of the same? Yeah. And when we recognize that what we're doing, me complaining from March to now, and nothing's changed. That's the whole insanity thing. Just keep doing it the same way, expecting a different result. Or I just want to encourage you. Take Jesse's example here and start listing out some of the things that you are grateful for. Yeah. And then I would even encourage you to get a piece of paper out. So I'm going to be teaching a class here next week to some young people that are entering the workforce. And one of the exercises we'll be doing is I want you to write out on a piece of paper what you want your life to look like, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And I'm not talking about what job you want to be working, and I want to be married and have 2.2 kids. These are 14-year-old kids, 15, 16-year-old kids. I don't expect them to know that. But, do you want to have a life that is full of love, joy, and peace? Or do you want to have a life that is full of, turmoil and drama and crisis and all that kind of stuff? And unless we make a determination of, I want to work towards peace. I want to work towards joy. I want to work towards love. If we aren't intentional about it, we're just going to do what most people do, and that's kind of live in what I call default mode. Yeah. Or we just wake up in the morning, we go to the breakfast table, eat our food, go down to the plant, or go to the office, whatever it is. You flip on the news. We have these routines, and then before you know it, you look back and you realize that the whole day is gone, and you're just kind of on autopilot. You're just kind of coasting through. It wasn't until I got intentional about some things and said, hey, you know what? I'm tired of that. I want to do it differently. And so part of that is recognizing the things that are worth being grateful for. Yeah. And seeing the silver lining when things are, be honest, there's some crappy things going on in this world. Yeah. We were just sharing, I've got a daughter who lives in another country. And they're on lockdowns. People get arrested for selling vegetables on the street, and things like that. And it's a crazy mess. But even there, she sees these opportunities that she gets to be, she can either contribute to that, be part of the noise of complaints and all of that, or she can be part of the light to there and bring a little bit of joy, bring a little stability to the lives of some people. But you can't accidentally do that. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about intention. And I think another thing that goes along with it is patience. Oh, patience is not my strong suit. And mine neither. And I think when you can find instances, so one of the things for Savannah and I, we made a lot of dumb financial decisions when we first got married that have, we've been married. Who hasn't, right? But we made some decisions that are still following us. Yeah. And we have to confront them in a more mature, a better understanding of, the outcome. Yeah.
And, you know, I could beat myself up about that. But I was speaking to a friend of mine who is 40, you know, early 40s. So a little bit older, you know, older than between us.
Yeah.
And they're still dealing with things when they were younger, and they're still figuring it out. And so to understand that we should be constantly reflecting and constantly, you know, being grateful and kind of figuring out what do we need to change, but knowing that we'll never reach a point where we stop doing that.
That's right.
You know, we can only take steps forward, you know, and try to do better, try to do, you know, and then once we get to that point where we've done better, reevaluate and make more plans to do better.
To keep doing better. You don't rest on your laurels, they say.
Yeah.
You know,
I've heard that. That's a good saying.
We have a rule in our house. Our joke is we don't have a lot of rules, but if we had a rule, but we have one rule in our house, and that is we don't do woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah.
That is a terrible game. So I can appreciate where you were saying that, you know, this is where we were, and a lot of people would say, well, we shouldn't have bought that car. We should have done it this way. We could have done it that way. And it's all that does is brings in like guilt, and it brings like some shame and some condemnation and things like that. But that's not what our life is supposed to be full of. Our life is supposed to be like living should be joyful. And you can't move in joyful ways when you're anchored down with woulda, shoulda, and coulda. So my encouragement to all of you out there today is eliminate woulda, shoulda, coulda out of your vocabulary and just determine with intentionality today, what are you going to do differently?
Yeah.
Today, what choices are you going to make? Are you going to keep going in the same direction that you were going and get the same results? Are you going to be miserable? Or are you going to take the opportunities that are presented to you today to do something different and get and maybe it won't work out. You know, some of these people that are starting businesses, a lot of restaurants fail, right? But what is it? You know, it's better. I'd rather try and fail at something than play all of these mind games with me. Well, what if I did that? What if I should have done that? It doesn't work. Yeah. So I just want to encourage you, take some risks, smart risks, but risks. Hey, this has been Coffee with Dwayne and Jesse. I'm Dwayne.
I'm Jesse.
Be well.
Do good. Drink good coffee.